Hey guys, it's your math teacher, Dana Etheridge. Just wanted to chat with you just a little bit about some of the problems that you got on your study guide today. I picked out the ones that I felt like you'd need to see the most. Your test is tomorrow and it is pretty hard, so let's make sure you know what you're doing. All right, on 1 through 3 you had to graph. Now, if you're able to look at the equations and you know just by looking that they're either a no solution, an infinitely many solutions, I'm okay with you just writing that down. But if you don't know, then go ahead and graph both equations. Now remember, when we're graphing, if we look at number 1, where it says y equals 6x minus 3, m is 6, which is your slope, and b is negative 3, which means that's your starting point. So I would go down to negative 3, put my first point, and then my slope is 6, and 6 is a fraction, is 6 over 1. So I would go up 6 and over 1 to draw my line. And if you don't have a ruler at home, you can use a straight edge, it's fine. And then I go to y equals negative 3. Now there's not an x in this problem, so if I'm missing an x, I have 0 x. We've talked about that means you have 0 slope. So I'm going to go to the negative 3. And bingo, there's your spot that they have in common. But we can go ahead and draw that line. It's just a horizontal line at negative 3. So this is the point where our two lines would intersect. So my answer would be 0, negative 3. Now, if you could have told that from the equations, both seeing the negative 3, that would have been fine, and you could have given your answer. But if you didn't see it and had to graph it, that works too. All right, number 2. Before I even graph these, I'm going to look at what I've got. I got y equals 5x minus 1 and y equals 5x plus 10. Look what they've got in common. They have the same slope. They have a different y-intercept. So I know that these are going to be parallel lines. So that means they are going to be no solution. I don't have to graph it. I can see it from the equation. All right, and then number 3, before I can graph 3y plus 2x equals 6, I need to solve it for y. So that means this has got to be by itself. The 2x needs to go to the other side. So I've got 3y equals negative 2x plus 6. Y is still not by itself. So I divide each piece by 3. I have y equals, this is slope, so a fraction is fine, negative 2/3 x, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So here's my new equation. This was the other equation. They're the same thing. If you need to graph it, you can, but when we have the same two equations, we have infinitely many solutions. So we're just going to say IMS. But you have to solve them both for y if they're not already there. Okay? All right, graphing you should be okay on. If you don't remember how to graph, look back in your journal. You have some examples. Okay, let's move on. The next section was solving using substitution. I started out pretty basic for you. This says that y equals x plus 15. So plug it in the y spot. So I'm going to have x plus 15 equals negative 4x. Now we just have a, sorry it's not staying focused, we just have a multi-step equation. So get your variables on one side, your numbers on the other. Sorry, let me get this adjusted for you. There we go. So I'm going to move this x over to this side. So I'm going to subtract x. And I've got 15 equals negative 4x and negative x is negative 5x. Divide by negative 5. And negative 3 is my x coordinate of my solution. Go back and pick one of the equations. It doesn't matter which. I'm just going to grab the y equals negative 4x. I now know x is negative 3. So y is 12. So my answer is negative 3, 12. All right, number 8, similar. Still using substitution. It says y is 3x minus 5. So plug it in the y spot. So I have 8x plus 3x minus 5 equals negative 16. Solve for x. Combine your like terms. 8x and 3x is 11x minus 5 equals negative 16. Add 5 to each side. We're doing those inverse operations. So 11x equals negative 11. Divide x equals negative 1. That's half of my answer. Go back, grab the equation. Y equals 3x minus 5. I now know that x is negative 1. So I'm looking at negative 3 minus 5. So y equals negative 8. So negative 1, negative 8 is my answer. Okay. All right, number 9, same kind of problem, except this time it says x equals. So I'm plugging it in the x spot. So I'm going to have 2 times y plus 11 plus y equals 19. We have to distribute. So 2 times y is 2y. 2 times 11 is 22. Don't forget that y that was already part of the problem. Combine like terms. So I have 3y plus 22 equals 19. Subtract 22. 3y equals negative 3. Divide. Y equals negative 1. Go back, pick up your equation. X equals y plus 11. We now know y is negative 1 plus 11. So x equals 10. So my answer is 10, negative 1. All right, number 10 I pulled out for you. We need to solve one of these for either x or y. So let's solve this one for x because it doesn't have a coefficient larger than 1. All we've got to do is move the negative 3y to the other side. So it becomes x equals 3y minus 6. It was a negative. It changed to a positive. Now this is what I'm plugging in to the x spot. So I'm going to have negative 4 times 3y minus 6 plus 9y equals 9. Distribute. So negative 12y plus 24 plus 9y equals 9. Combine your like terms. Negative 12y plus 9y is negative 3y plus 24 equals 9. Subtract 24. So I got negative 3y, and you got 9 minus 24. So you got negative 15. Dividing by negative 3. So y equals 5. That's half your answer. Go back. We said that x equals 3y minus 6. So 3 times 5 minus 6. So 15 minus 6 is 9. So x is 9. So our answer is 9 and 5. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 11. Excuse me. Focus. Okay, here again, we need to solve one of these for x or y. I'm going to go with the top one. It says negative x minus 7y equals 14. So let's move the 7y. So we have negative x equals 7y plus 14. We can't leave this variable negative, so that means we're dividing everything by negative 1. So x equals negative 7y minus 14. Now I can plug in. This is my value of x. So I'm going to put it in the x spot. So negative 4 times negative 7y minus 14 minus 14y equals 28. Distribute. So I've got 28y. Negative 4 times negative 14 is positive 56 minus 14y equals 28. Combine like terms. 28y minus 14y is 14y plus 56 equals 28. Subtract 56. So I've got 14y equals negative 28. Divide. So y equals negative 2. Go back and plug in. So negative 7 times negative 2 minus 14. So x is 14 minus 14. So x is 0. So 0, negative 2 would be my answer. Okay. All right, then on 13, we switched gears. We said, okay, let's solve them using elimination. We're looking to see, does one of the variables cancel out? Well, on 13 it does. Negative 4 and positive 4, that zeroes out. So let's work with the y's. Negative 2y plus 8y is 6y. Negative 12 and negative 24 is negative 36. Divide by 6, and y equals negative 6. Halfway there. Pick an equation. I'm just going to get the top one. So negative 4x minus 2 times negative 6, because we found the y, keep up with what you're finding, equals negative 12. So negative 4x plus 12 equals negative 12. Subtract 12. So negative 4x equals negative 24. Divide, and x will equal 6. So 6 and negative 6 would be your answer. All right, let's look at number 15. This one almost cancels out. We could almost cancel out the 9s, or you could work on the 2s and the 4s. You could multiply the top row by a negative 2 so that the 4s would cancel, or I could multiply the top or bottom row, doesn't matter, by a negative 1 so that the 9s would cancel. I'm going to cancel out the 9s. So I'm just going to multiply the top row by a negative 1. So then it's going to become 2x plus 9y equals positive 25. Keeping the bottom row, my 9s now cancel. 2x minus 4x is negative 2x. 25 minus 23 is 2. We will divide, so x equals negative 1. Now, pick an equation. It doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to grab the top one. So negative 2 times negative 1, because we know that's the value of x, so I'm plugging it in, minus 9y equals negative 25. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. So then we do the inverse. We subtract 2. So negative 9y equals negative 27. Divide by negative 9, and y equals 3. So our answer is negative 1, 3. So we just had to multiply one of the equations. And if you had worked on the 2s and 4s, you still should have got the same answer. Okay. All right, let's look at 16. The variables don't cancel out. 5 doesn't go into 3, 3 doesn't go into 5, same for the y's. So let's work on either making this into 15s, or we could make this into 36s. I'm probably going to go with the 15s just to keep smaller numbers, okay? But they're both positive, so one of the things I multiply has to be a negative, so I get different signs. I'm going to use a positive 3 on top and a negative 5 on the bottom. And we got to distribute. So 3 times 5x is 15x. 3 times 4y is 12y. And 3 times negative 30 is negative 90. Same thing on the bottom. Negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x, so those will cancel. That's what we wanted. Negative 5 times negative 9 is negative 45y. And negative 5 times negative 18 is a positive 90. Okay. X's cancel. 12y minus 45y. We got negative 33y. Negative 90 and 90 is 0. So when we divide by that negative 33, we're just going to get the 0. So y is 0. So go back and plug it in. Pick any of the equations. I'm just going to do the first. So 5x plus 4 times 0, because that's what I found. So I really have 5x equals negative 30. This zeroed out. Divide by 5. So x is negative 6. So negative 6 and 0. Okay, you just have to make sure one of the variables cancels out. Okay. Now let's look at those word problems. This was similar to the 2 days we were, or actually 3 days that we worked. You worked a day with Miss Hardison and I on coins. We worked a day together on stations, and then we went over it the next day. So you have seen these. So let's look at what we got. It says Zoe has a total of 16 coins. It says she has dimes and nickels. So we know that dimes plus nickels equals 16. That's one of our equations. Okay, sorry, I'm writing on tape. Okay. The other one says that she has a total of $1.35. How many nickels and how many dimes does she have? All right, so let's think. A dime is 10 cents. You got to be sure you put your decimal. A nickel is 5 cents. Be sure and write that correctly. And it equals $1.35. Okay. Let's solve this, the first equation for dimes. So if D plus N equals 16, that means I can subtract the N. So that means D equals 16 minus N. So this is what I'm going to plug in for D. So I'm going to have 10 cents times 16 minus N plus that nickel information equals the 1.35. Okay. Now just distribute. So 0.10 times 16 is 1.6. 0.10 times negative n is negative 0.10 n plus the 5/100ths n. Combine your like terms. Now this is a negative and this is a positive. So I'm going to have 1.6 minus 0.05 n. Right. Solve for your variable. So move. So subtract the 1.6. And if you want to add another 0 so you line them all up, that's fine. So you'll have negative 0.05 n equals negative 0.25. Check myself, make sure. Okay. And then we're going to divide by negative 0.05. Okay. And we know two negatives are going to give us a positive. Okay. So we're doing 0.25 divided by 0.05, and we get N is 5. So we have 5 nickels. And to find dimes, we said 16 minus 5. So dimes equals 11. Okay, you've got to be able to solve those. All right, and then the last one, let's look at number 18.
Miss Thompson, could you come to the office, please?
Okay. On 18, we had 22 tickets. It says some are adults and some are child. So we have adult tickets, we have child tickets. It says adult tickets are 5 and child tickets are 3, and these are each, and it has a total value of 74. And how many of each? All right, so 22 tickets, we have adult and child. So A plus C equals 22. Then we know that the adult tickets are $5. So we can just put 5A. The children is 3, so plus 3C. And we have a total of 74. Just like the last one. Solve that first equation. I'm going to solve it for A. So that's the same as A equals 22 minus C. So this is my value for A. So 5 times 22 minus C plus 3C equals 74. So I'm going to be finding the number of child tickets first. So distribute. So 5 times 22, you get 110. And 5 times C is negative 5C plus 3C equals 74. Combine your like terms. So negative 5C plus 3C is negative 2C. Subtract 110. Okay, from each side. So we get negative 2C equals negative 36. Divide by negative 2, and C is going to equal 18. Okay, so we have 18 children tickets, so 22 minus 18. Okay, doing the math there, 22 minus 18, so adults is 4. So 4 adult tickets and 18 children tickets. Okay. Be sure for your test tomorrow you know how to tell from equations whether they're infinitely many, whether they're no solution, or whether they're one solution. Really look over your notes. This is going to be a hard test because it's a big subject on our end of the year test, so be sure you're ready. Look over it, prepare, and good luck tomorrow. See you guys.